This is the story of Rainforest Cafe. Rainforest Cafe opened its doors on February 3, 1994. However, before we get to that point, we'll have to rewind a bit. Many big-name restaurants can trace their origins back to quirky founders, and Rainforest Cafe is no exception. Steven Schussler, the founder of Rainforest Cafe, is known for his ability to think outside of the box. So, it's somewhat ironic that he secured his first sales job by mailing himself inside of a box to the general manager of a radio station. After briefly working in electronic media marketing in his hometown of New York City, he built a vintage jukebox retail shop. The venture led to the development of Jukebox Saturday Night, a chain of 8 restaurant nightclubs, including one in Minneapolis. But when interest in the 50s style concept faded in the late 1980s, business fell off. He was forced into bankruptcy in 1991. Undeterred, Steven set off on his next venture. In 1989, Schussler transformed his suburban Minneapolis home into what would be the prototype for a Rainforest-style restaurant. Years later, Eric Schoenfeld would write in a 1996 Fortune magazine article, 3 years ago, Steven Schussler was headed for either restaurant heaven or the psychiatric ward. In all, he spent more than $500,000 developing the concept for an indoor rainforest. Schussler began pitching the concept to potential investors, including Lyle Berman, a successful casino developer. Although he declined to invest several times, Berman eventually hired Schussler to develop a restaurant for Grand Casinos Incorporated. During his work with Grand Casinos, Schussler brought on a number of additional investors, and coupled with a favorable lease with the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota, he was finally able to convince Berman to join him. The Rainforest Cafe was incorporated in February 1994. Berman set up the financing that allowed Schussler to bring his dream to life. The doors opened for business in October 1994, and within a week, the wait for a table was over 3 hours. Martin O'Dowd came on board in May 1995 to help guide the expansion of the company. O'Dowd was a veteran of the restaurant industry, having served previously as store manager for the Hard Rock Cafe. Berman continued in his capacity as CEO, while Schussler held a position as executive vice president. The Mall of America store was off to a great start, having earned $10 million in 1995. The restaurant had expanded 3 times since opening, now seating 295 customers. The appeal is really in the space, which was designed to wow children and those adults with a childlike worldview, wrote Lee Schaefer in an October 1995 Corporate Report Minnesota article. He went on to say, "Nothing on the menu is particularly noteworthy, but the plates are full and the service is brisk." Rainforest Cafe soon began a series of higher-profile expansions. First up was Disney World, with 2 different locations in downtown Disney and, quite appropriately, Animal Kingdom. 1997 would prove to be a more difficult year for Rainforest Cafe. One of the planned locations at the Trump Taj Mahal fell through, along with a previously planned Stratosphere location. In all, a $1.9 million write-off was taken to cover those 2 developments. Further complicating the year, President and Chief Operating Officer Martin O'Dowd resigned in May of '97, citing personal reasons. However, in spite of the difficulties, expansion continued. By the end of the year, 13 domestic restaurants were in operation, including one at the MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas, and the first international sites, located in London and Cancun. By the year 2000, Rainforest Cafe was back on track financially. Landry's Restaurants Incorporated, a company that also owns over 500 restaurant, hotel, casino, and entertainment destinations, ended up purchasing Rainforest Cafe, despite protests from Steven Schussler. As tends to happen, after the sale, things changed, including menu items and decor. Also on the list were Schussler's live birds, which cost each location $100,000 a year. His original vision had been killed, along with the jobs of many of the animal care specialists and curators. "Of course I didn't agree with Landry's decision," he writes. "I felt the marketing value of the birds alone justified their cost, but I was overruled." Which brings us to today. The Landry's acquisition of Rainforest Cafe mostly systematized the process of creating a chain eatertainment franchise, and the period between 2000 and the present mostly consists of fine-tuning that system and expanding with additional restaurant locations, of which there are over 25 at the time of this video. While the restaurant might have lost some of the original charm brought about by Steven Schussler, it's hard to argue against the recent success. And what about the man who started it all? Well, he never stopped. After leaving Rainforest Cafe, Schussler has since developed a number of concept restaurants, ranging from Green Acres to Galaxy Drive-In to T-Rex Cafe. Along with his restaurants, he's even written a book about believing in your own ideas called It's a Jungle in There. Schussler is also the creator and CEO of Schussler Creative, a consulting agency that provides restaurant and branding services. It seems that as long as there's a market for mixing eating and entertainment, Steven Schussler is going to be there working out new concepts. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If so, please like and subscribe. Also, make sure to check us out on Smartyflix.com, a new streaming video service that will be dedicated to bringing you entertaining and educational video content. Sign up to be notified when the service launches at Smartyflix.com.